to the real nitty-picky details, but the book, just taken at face value to mean what it says, and God doesn't try to make things complicated and hide things from us, would indicate that the Earth's about 6,000 years old. That is an absolutely incredible concept in this day and age. People shut down when they hear someone say something like that. Why? Let me back up again, though, and repeat. This is just in a straightforward way what the Bible has to say. There was a creation. There was the fall of mankind. As we sinned, spit in God's face, said, we don't want to obey your rules. We want to make the rules. God changed the entire creation at that point. It started its downward spiral. That's where death came from. That's where mutations started. That's where the problems and diseases started. Because of our actions, not because God chose to just use that kind of method to make us. Then there was the flood. That's what explained, as we heard just a little bit ago, this huge fossil record around the world. And then you get to the various dialogues of the Bible. But it lays out those basic, huge interventions of God first. Then it starts to fine-tune in on God's solution to why the world's the way it is. This is a statement by someone a theologian who doesn't want to believe what the Bible has to say. But he says, it is apparent that the most straightforward understanding of the Genesis record, without regard to all of the other considerations suggested by science, is that God created the heaven and earth in 6 solar days. In other words, that is what the Bible says. And anybody who really treats the text of the Bible fairly has to come to that conclusion. Well, what does science say about the age of the earth? Well, science can't prove how old anything is. It can't. It merely makes some assumptions and tries to figure it out. And this is how all dating methods work. If you go away with nothing but this tonight, this will really clear a lot of clouds in your mind. You see, essentially, every dating method uses the equation at the top. It says that time, some amount of time that's passed, is equal to some amount that you started with divided by the rate, or some amount you presently have. Now, let me explain it this way. Suppose Peter is sitting under the tree early one morning at 6 a.m. in the morning because he likes to go out, read his Bible, pray, and just meditate on the Word early in the morning before his day gets started. And as Peter is sitting there under the tree, he happens to see George, a friend he knows from a nearby town, come walking along. Well, Peter's been in high school, and he has just went through his physics class, and he knows how dating methods work. And he thinks, well, this is interesting. George lives in a town 21 miles away. That's, whoops, let me back that back up. Okay, 21 miles away, that's the amount. And he's walking along, and most people walk along at about 3 miles an hour. That's the rate. So 21 miles divided by 3 miles an hour means that he has been on the road 7 hours. That's the time. See, he's just done a dating method. How long has he been on the road? How long ago did he leave? 7 hours ago. Except it's 6 in the morning. Why would George have gotten up at 11 o'clock and walked all night to get to that point? In order to get the right time, you have to have the correct measured amount. You have to have the right initial amount, and you have to make sure there was never any contamination. In other words, suppose George's car just broke down right around the corner, which is only 3 miles away, and he's only been on the road for 3 miles. He's only left 1 hour ago. You were off by almost an order of magnitude because you didn't get the measured amount right, or the initial amount right. Or suppose there's a shortcut you didn't know about that cuts it to 6 miles. You get a totally wrong amount because there was a contamination of the rate, of the route. It wasn't the right route. It wasn't. Or suppose he took up jogging or marathon running since you've known him last, so he was really traveling at 10 miles an hour instead of 3 miles an hour, so he's only been on the road for 2 hours. You see, you get the totally wrong answer unless you know everything. Okay. All right. Let me, now, keep that in mind. I'm going to switch to something just to kind of set in your minds what's going on in our society and what we're up against. Remember, science cannot prove how old something is. It's based on assumptions. And yet, this in our culture, I'm going to show you a short video clip. Okay, this is a contrast between...
Evolution is a fact, not a theory. It really happened. We wish to pursue the truth no matter where it leads. But to find the truth, we need imagination and skepticism both. We will not be afraid to speculate, but we will be careful to distinguish speculation from fact. The Big Bang is at upper left, in the first second of January 1st. 15 billion years later is our present time, the last second of December 31st. These guys, for example, the trilobites, appeared 600 million years ago. They were around for 300 million years. They're all gone. There's none left. But in those old rocks, there are no fossils of people or cattle. We've evolved only recently.
A DNA strand like me is a blueprint for building a living thing. And sometimes animals that went extinct millions of years ago, like dinosaurs, left their blueprints behind for us to find. We just had to know where to look. 100 million years ago.
Okay. We're just not having a lot of luck tonight. Or meeting some opposition. I got to restart things. I apologize. As this film clip goes along, and it runs about 6 minutes, it goes through, and you've seen this, it goes through Star Trek and Jurassic Park and National Geographic specials and Discover specials and the 2000 biology textbook that my kids are using, where page after page after page after page, dozens and dozens of times, it talks about this appeared 200 million years ago, this appeared 1 billion years ago, this appeared 50 million years ago, dinosaurs disappeared 65 million years ago. It's always presented as fact. And almost all of those are based on radiometric dating methods. Okay, I'm going to start over again right here. We've lost so much time, I'm going to skip past the video clips. The fact is, and this is a fact, the vast majority of dating methods indicate a relatively young Earth, and many, many dating methods indicate the Earth's only 6,000 years old. This is a quote by Dr. Russell Humphreys. He's just retired recently from PhD from Los Alamos Laboratories. He's been studying the age of the Earth all his life. He has discovered that for every dating method to indicate there have been billions of years of Earth history, there are 10 methods that indicate the Earth is far too young for evolution to have ever happened. And as you go and speak on dating methods, you can just present dozens of methods that indicate a young Earth. But remember what I just said, science can't prove the age of things because it all depends on assumptions. You see, the only way to ever absolutely for sure know how long ago something happened that was beyond historic times is for someone who was there and saw it happen and who would never lie to you to tell you when and how it happened. There is no scientific way. That's the only way. And that's what this is. This is a document given to man by someone who was there to see things formed and who would never lie to us, tell us when and how everything happened. But I'm going to go through a few of these because it is very useful to realize the majority of the data agrees with what God has given us. You see, Christianity is not a blind faith. Christianity ties the physical world, the earthly things, to philosophical, spiritual concepts. That's what makes Christianity so strong. And that's why the church is losing our culture. It's because they quit doing that. They decided to relegate the physical, scientific stuff to the world and concentrate on the spiritual stuff. And until we stop doing that, until we as Christians share with others and as church leaders and as potential pastors